7 presidents didn't attend their successor's inauguration. John Adams, second president, didn't attend the inauguration of his successor, Thomas Jefferson. For the first time in American history, it was due to power being held from one political party to another. George Washington was technically an independent. He's considered a Federalist in all but name. John Adams was also a Federalist. And George attended John's inauguration, but it wasn't a switch of parties. Probably once due to the ruthless election cycle. There's no reason why Adams didn't attend Thomas' inauguration. Some suggest he wasn't invited. Others say that he wanted to leave the capital early in the morning to complete back to his home state of Massachusetts. But regardless, whatever the reason is, it's certainly still questioned to this day. 28 years later, sixth president John Quincy Adams didn't attend the inauguration of his successor, Andrew Jackson. It was the first time since John Adams that power was being held from one political party to another. Jefferson's three successors, James Madison, James Monroe, and John Q. Adams, were all Democratic Republicans, whereas Andrew Jackson was a Democrat. But once again, it wasn't a switch of parties that caused the animosity, but due to the ruthless election cycle in which Adams supporters called Jackson a mean, dirty inhuman who needs to be kept out of the White House at all costs. There was no such meeting between John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. By the time Jackson was sworn in, Adams had already left the White House. The next one was 12 years later when Martin Van Buren didn't attend the inauguration of his successor, William H. Harrison. Again, due to conflicts between the ruthless election cycle. It was due to animosity, as the Harrison campaign smeared the Van Buren administration. And due to a bad presidency, Harrison would ultimately win the election. Harrison and Van Buren, unlike Jackson and John Quincy Adams, didn't meet together in the following February prior to the inauguration. Problems would arose again with Andrew Johnson and his successor, Ulysses S. Grant. This didn't have to do with change of political parties for the first time. It didn't have to do with the changes of political parties. But it rather had to do with animosity between the two. Johnson was vocally for slavery, and Grant was vocally against it. But it wasn't due to that. Johnson called Grant a liar, guilty of duplicity, false to his duties and his trust. By that time, Grant had announced that he would refuse to ride in the same carriage, and Johnson would effectively stay in the White House even while the ceremony was taking place, and would leave at the last part. It took until 52 years later. Democrat Woodrow Wilson didn't attend the inauguration of Republican Warren G. Harding, which came down to health reasons. During his second term, Wilson had a stroke. He'd spent the final years of both his presidency and life mostly kept behind closed doors and windows, as many people were shocked by his sickly appearance rather than actually being out in public. Wilson did perform the carriage ride with the incoming president. He did not attend the successor's inauguration. It took until the almost end of the 20th century when Republican Richardson didn't attend the inauguration of Republican Gerald Ford. Both Nixon and Ford were Republicans, so this was the first time that a president from the same political party didn't attend their inauguration. Also, it was the first time that the president was being replaced despite being alive. Nixon resigned in late 1974, less than 2 years into his second term. By the time Ford was being sworn in, Nixon had already left the White House. The next one and the last one as of this recording was Donald Trump, who didn't attend the inauguration of his successor, Democrat Joe Biden. It took Trump 3 months to defeat also. That same day, he announced he wouldn't attend the inauguration of Joseph Robertson Biden. Biden would later make a statement saying that he was glad Trump wasn't attending. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and liking, please. Thanks for watching the video. You can also watch more of my videos.